often get asked the question, you know, Chuck, how did you start playing? And so I have a little story to tell you about that. I learned by listening to my mom. Mom was not a teacher or a professional or anything, but she played for family enjoyment. I was the baby of the family, you see, so with my older brother and sister in school when I was 5, 6 years old, my dad out working, oftentimes it was just the two of us in the house. And I just loved to listen to her play. It was my entertainment and just get thrilled, you know. So I'd tug on her skirt and say, Mama, play me something. And she'd accommodate, sit down at the piano, and I was just fascinated watching her hands move up and down those keyboards and hearing the melodies and the harmonies and the rhythms that would occur. So she began to get me up on that stool a little bit, and she would just show me some very simple melodies and, you know, kind of get me going, and simple triads and things, and oftentimes lead me to my own resources, go about her work around the house, and just say, well, Chuck, you know, you just make something up while I'm gone, and I'll come back and check on you. So this went on for, you know, a year and a half or so, and I was really enjoying it. I was beginning to solve some of the puzzle, but it was, of course, at a very elementary stage. But I was loving it, you know. I was passionate about it. And so finally, around the tender young age of 7 or so, I decided, I had this epiphany, you see, that this is what I wanted to do, you know, the rest of my life. I wanted to play the piano, be a musician. Well, I was all excited about this, and I wanted to tell my mom right off the bat. You know, this is the first thing. I got to go tell my mom. I made this big decision. So I'm running through the house, calling her name, find her in the kitchen, and, you know, I'm all excited and worked up. And I said, Mama, I got something really important to tell you. And she said, goodness, son, what's wrong? I said, Mama, I've made a big decision. You have? Well, my goodness. Boy, just take a deep breath and tell me what's on your mind. What have you decided? I said, Mama, I've decided I want to be a musician when I grow up. She smiled, looked down, and said, honey, you can't do both. How true is that, okay? Still trying to figure out responsible adult. Can't seem to get that together, but sure I'm having a good time. You guys know the difference between a musician and a municipal bond. A municipal bond eventually matures and makes money. I enjoy telling that joke, but really there's a lot of truth in that. I did learn from listening to my mom, and she was my first influence. And one of the things that she did for me, and I have no idea whether she did this on purpose consciously or whether it was unconscious, but what she would say to me sometimes when we were up on that stool together was, Chuck, what would it sound like if there was a big storm outside? You know, and I'd rumble down on the low end, maybe make a lightning strike or something. What would it sound like if you had an argument with your friend, you know, like something I felt was angry, you know? Or what would it sound like if you hit a home run, you know, when you played ball? And so music for me has always been that. You know, she really instilled that in me at a very early age. To think of it in terms of colors, emotions, stories, and so forth, not just notes and chords. We all know that it's very important to learn those notes and chords, but I think to use the imagination and to really follow musical dreams and to inspire, you need to think about it in broader terms. Of course, as I say, we know that we have to learn these basics, and that's something that we try to do very hard, as Howard has explained with I Rock You, and with very talented people that we have on board with us, Colin, Matthew, Carrie, and Pete, all that are here today, and all that participate in our instruction. So we're very, very fortunate with getting the point across to our students. When Howard and I first discussed the possibility of putting together this enterprise, we talked about how music has suffered in the educational systems, and there's a gap there, and we wanted to find a way to hopefully fill that gap. And we wanted to find ways that young folks can pursue their musical dreams. One of the things we talked about, as Howard mentioned earlier, is teaching songs that they want to learn. I think that's so important, you know, to get them in the beginning, to learn things that excite them. You know, my own grandson, I have a grandson, 2 grandsons now, but my eldest, who is about 8 years old now, is studying piano from a fellow, and the first thing he asked was, Miles, what do you want to learn? He wanted to learn the Star Wars thing. And boy, that just thrilled him, you know, and so he went from there to other songs to learn, and he's doing quite well. and very proud of him. But I think it's just if you can get that passion for the students straight off the bat, and that's one of the philosophies that we have. Howard has done an absolutely amazing job. We get all the proper licensing for our songs, which is not easy to do, by the way. And sometimes you get resistance from the publishers, but Howard works very hard on that, and our team works very hard on that, and the catalog is growing as we speak. Of course, we all know, you all know as teachers, that every student's different, and there's no one particular way that you can teach all these things. But if you can bring out that passion, as I said, get them hooked in the beginning, get them playing things that they want to play, then I think they'll follow a natural path to want to improve. In my own musical journey, I've been influenced, like all of you, by a myriad of people. Early on when I was growing up in the house, Mom and Dad had Ferranti and Teicher and Roger Williams and artists like that on the turntable. As I got older and began to play in rock bands, certainly Elton John, Nicky Hopkins, Billy Preston, and Leon Russell, and so many more came into the picture for me. And of course, we know it's not only piano players, is it? We can be inspired by Miles Davis's trumpet, or John Coltrane's sax, or Louis Armstrong, or Elvin Jones, or whatever it might be. So the point in saying that is that as we go forward with iRock-U, Howard and I do plan to expand and to get into other instruments. But right now we are focused on the piano. I've just been so fortunate in my career to work with a wide range of artists. The Stones for 32 years, it's hard for me to say that now. Working with Eric was a big honor, and George Harrison, you saw John on the video, and that's been pretty recent. And the thing I love about it is that you always learn something, right? You always learn something from an artist, different artists, or different settings, different musicians, recording sessions. And learning is what it's all about, is what you guys do, and what we all hope for our kids that are coming up. So again, with iRock-U, we're trying to engage our students off the bat with material that they're interested in and can get passionate about, and we're broadening that catalog as we go. Also, I want to say that and this was a great point that Colin brought out, the way that we're structured, it gives a student a wealth of tools to carry forward outside the iRock-U realm, because the instructions talk about music theory, they talk about different chord progressions and so forth. And so, it leads a student to have almost limitless possibilities outside the iRock-U realm. So, let's have some fun. Let's play a little bit here. Howard had a little bit of the Alberta song up there. But before I do that, I want to explain one more time, Howard mentioned it, about how we work with the 7 levels. I think that's so important because, if a student is doing it for the first time and struggling and trying to figure out, we don't want to put too much pressure on them. We want them to be able to just hit simple chords and have some fun and enjoy the process. And then as they go, step by step, we get them into higher ground and better playing. Another thing that separates us a little bit from the classical and other realms is our focus on rhythm. We include basic left-hand rhythms via the slash notes that we have on our instructions, and we've received a lot of comments on this because a lot of young piano players, what do I do with my left hand? So we try to emphasize on that, and we get a lot of comments, and people say that they're really helped by the methodologies that we have for that. All right, so let's take a look at this song.